What does it take to run one of the largest mountain biking events for over 25 years? Organizing any event is no small feat, let alone a mountain biking event. Today I'm joined by Adam Ruppel from Chico Racing, the mastermind behind the 24-hour summer solstice. We'll dive into the hard work, dedication, and passion required to keep this race running year after year. I'm Marc LeBlanc, the host of Trail Nutz, the podcast where we dig into real stories from real riders about real trails. Adam, thanks so much for being a guest on today's episode.
My pleasure, Mark. Excited to be here.
So as I shared with you, I was really interested to have someone on to speak about the 24-hour event. I've been a number of times. It's a ton of fun. I think my first time was back around 2010, 2011. Were you there way back when it started? Maybe you could just give us a little insight into how this event got started and what it is today.
So, yeah, I was the founder of the 24 Hours of Summer Solstice. I've been at every one since 1998. We actually ran it for the first 2 years at Ganaraska Forest Center. Very few people remember that, but I think we had 350 riders first year and something like 600 riders the second year. And then we moved it to Albion Hills Conservation Area. That first year in 2000, we had a rain out and we had 1,100 riders. It has been selling out probably since about 2002 at around 2,100 to 2,300 riders every year.
What was the inspiration behind that? Was it always during the solstice, or was that a change over the years?
Actually, it was originally there was another 24-hour mountain bike event called the 24 Hours Adrenaline that took place at Hardwood Hills in August. And that was a huge event back in the day. That gave me the inspiration to do the 24 hours. I thought I'll run it when people have that excitement to ride like early summer and they haven't committed to their cottages and everything else. And so it became sort of the celebration of summer, the first weekend of summer.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I know I've introduced a few people to it. This past year, I introduced my two boys to it. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do any night riding, which we'll get into
Yeah.
maybe in a little bit. What's been the biggest drive? Why is it important to run this year after year? 27 years coming up. That's a lot of dedication. Where's that passion coming from? How's that fueled for you?
So I was originally I started mountain bike racing in 1984 when I was 12 years old. So I was around during the inception of mountain bike racing in Ontario. And I actually ended up becoming on the national mountain bike team for the first World Championships and represented Canada as a junior in the first World Championships in Durango, Colorado in 1990. I finished 13th in the juniors in the first World Championships. So, and then I raced road, came back to racing mountain bike events at elite level, senior level, and did Canada Cups, Ontario Cups, World Cups. And as my career was winding down, I decided to organize events. I was working in bike shops, and it just seemed like my friend Eric Orschel was organizing events. And I thought, well, I should try organizing some cycling events. And then it turned into a business.
It's always nice when those passion projects can also become a work experience. People always say if you like what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I would imagine that holds very much true when you're organizing these events.
Yeah, certainly you have to find the passion for it, but there's also a grind element to it as well. So, there's been different points in my life where I've been like, oh, I'm stressed out about organizing the 24-hour event. But during the last, I would say 10 years, it's become a lot less stressful for me and way more fun. So I actually really enjoy it. Besides, when we get rained out, this year was a bit of a challenge, but I look at those as opportunities to just continue improving the trails. So we're doing even more trail work at Albion Hills, and we're going to armor it and, be even more ready for, future rainstorms and things like that.
Yeah, interesting. There's two things I'd like to explore there. Over the 10 years, you said you've had more fun. You're really enjoying it. What do you attribute that to? Like I've been to your event. It's very well run. You must have a good support team helping you out with these.
Yeah, actually, so maybe it's been about 13 or 14 years. I used to run mountain bike races where the 24-hour would be my largest event. And then I went into producing obstacle running events. So I've owned a number of event companies. And the obstacle running, producing Mud Hero, they were way more stressful. We had up to 20,000 runners an event. So I ended up becoming an event manager where the 24 hours seems like a much more community fun event versus these 20,000 and 25,000 person events, which I still, run one called Drive Festival, and we get 25,000 attendees for an automotive event. So I think that perspective, those events are a lot more stressful to run. And because I now have that in my toolbox to run events for like 20,000 people, running an event for, 2,500 riders, plus let's say another 2,500 people that come each weekend. It's a lot more fun. Plus I have a lot of staff that have been with the event for 10, 15, 20 years. So they come on the event weekend and it almost becomes like a friend reunion. They all come, they do their job. Everybody knows what to do and we run it and it's great. So, I've got some great event managers that come to make it less stressful for me. So one of the keys to event management is to have great people that you surround yourself with. And, I've got a number of crew that have been around the event for 20 years, 15 years. And those people really help to make that event special and help put it forward. As well, the mountain bike community really rally around the event. And so dealing with mountain bikers who really treat that event like it's a mountain bike. I would say like a mountain bike town. Albion Hills becomes a town of mountain bikers for the weekend. Uh, you know, I have to say that mountain bikers are some of the best people to deal with. They enjoy nature. They're easygoing. They take responsibility for themselves. All those characteristics that make you a good mountain biker or make you attracted to mountain biking also tend to make you pretty easy to deal with as far as running events.
Yeah, I've always early in my career, I spent some time working at bike shops as well, and I always remember it was a very eclectic community. Cycling in general, everyone rides a bike from all walks of life,
Right.
from all situations. One thing I noticed that evolved with your event, I believe this last year was the first year you had adaptive cyclists. Tell me, was there a focus to make sure this was an inclusive event? Where did that kind of fit in the strategy as it evolved?
Actually, that happened, I believe, in 2018 was our first year
Okay.
doing it. And Robert Buren just approached us and said, "Would you guys be willing to do a hand cycling course?" And I'm like, "Of course." So I said, "If we can do it, we'll do it." And so Sean and myself, we met with Robert and we adapted a course that's a bit separate with different signage so that they can still be part of they're going to share some of the same track, but they're not sharing the entire track because some of the single tracks just too narrow for the hand cycles. So it just became very fluid, very how would I say? It was a no brainer to just do it.
I recall at this last year's event, it was probably around 6:30. I was waiting for my son to come in after we knew that you were shutting the trails for a bit, and one of the cyclists was coming up, and he was having a hard time getting up that last hill
Right.
up around before he do the. And I remember two of the spectators hopping out to help push him up, and I thought that like this really captures the spirit of this mountain bike community, just helping get this poor fellow up the hill because it was nobody was making it up that hill. I watched for 45 minutes. I don't think I might have saw one,
Yeah.
just because of the mud and the rain. I'm wondering, do you have any standout moments over the years that you're like, wow, like this is a really special moment for this event?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. I would say the first year that we ran it at Albion, I had to shut it down at about 2, 3 in the morning due to massive amounts of rain. And I remember the award ceremony the next morning. We still ran an award ceremony, and the positivity and people were so positive. And I thought, there is no way I'm going to ever be able to run this event again. Like, it's done. Like, we've wrecked a lot of trails. We built all these trails at Albion, but we got such great support from Albion Hills and from the mountain bike community that the next year we even had more riders. up here because people saw the potential with the event and they saw how much work we put into it. And that was like a takeaway that I've got something special here. Also, moving to Albion Hills from Ganaraska Forest Center, um, what we did that was key to making it more of a community event was that we took a campground and we built, my brother and myself and some other people, volunteers and helpers, and we've hired people over the years. We built a mountain bike course that wasn't there before. There was double track, but there wasn't single track. So instead of us going to a mountain bike facility and then taking a field and making camping there, we actually took a an area that had all these pre-organized and that was a camping area, and we took that extra 700-800 acres and we turned the mountain bike course, and that ended up being a super ingredient for the event, that made the event stand out from other 24-hour events that took place at mountain bike centers, but the camping was a secondary thought. Our first thought was always the camping has to be great, and then we can make the course great afterwards. So we had to continuously improve the trails and the course over the years. Caledon Cycling Club as well has helped with it. And there's been a lot of volunteers over the years, and we've had some trail grants. We're working on some more right now that I'm very, very excited about. But that, I think, is the key element that makes this event sort of stand out from, the other 24-hour events that were in Canada at the time.
Yeah, I think that the camping element that you have is a big element. My entire family comes. My wife, my daughter don't ride, but they come along to watch and participate. And it's kind of the activities you have going on.
Yeah.
How important has the partnership with Albion Hills been throughout this?
Yeah, it's been a super important partnership. Your venue is one of the keys to work with. So we have a very good relationship with the park, and we're always looking for, especially the people that are running the park are always looking for wins, and we're always like also open to help with whatever else. So we work together to make the trails better and to make the event better, and that's been great. And they've done improvements over the park over the last number of years, from everything from the camping areas to some of the double track. And now we're working on even more single track improvements and trying to, armor up some areas that are more susceptible to clay soil where it gets soaked, so that we can go through some of these torrential downpours that we're getting more often.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about the trail maintenance. Last year I remember the trail being, we'll call it fluid. I believe changes were happening probably every time a new wave kind of went out. There would be an adjustment. I would see it on my kids' Strava when they got in.
Right.
Oh, you were slightly different. How do you make those decisions? And then, thinking about the experience this year where we had a significant amount of torrential downpours, when you're saying armoring up, what does that mean? What does that look like?
So that means basically taking a gravel and increasing the trail tread and giving the trail tread more grip, and also making sure that the water flow is good off that trail, that particular trail. So we've got to do some more armoring on certain parts of the trail, and we're going to phase this in over the next number of years. So it's not going to be like magic overnight, but also it's utilizing a lot of the sandier soil, single track, if we get the big rains. But basically, my brother has Sean is the course designer, and he knows the course better than I do, and he knows the susceptible areas as well. So he's the guy that, in the end, makes the decisions. He's been doing it for 27 years, right? So he's been able to see, in 25 years at Albion, so he's been able to see like the amount of rain and what it can hold up to, what it can withstand. This year was I would say an outlier in that we had so much rain leading up to the event, and then we had deluges that were just like, it was basically like a waterfall coming down if you remember, some for 30 minutes to 45 minutes. So there might not have been much that we could do even with the armoring this year, just because the amount of rain. But we're getting much better with experience and with the years as far as like managing the event, making sure that we make the experience good for riders, but that we also don't wreck the venue and wreck the trails as well. So there's like a balance between trying to find that happy medium when you're running the event like a 24-hour. And people don't want to ride when they're covered in mud and their bikes are, caked with mud.
Yeah, I recall. I was fortunate. I was my group to go out. It was sprinkling when I came in, and
Right.
my youngest child, he was 12. He came in after, and he was just head to toe covered. And we took him down to the wash station, and we must have waited in line for 20 minutes just because that was the state of everyone's equipment. They had to get it. Nobody
Right.
wants to go and do that. It's a hard grind on your gear. So
Yeah, that doesn't happen often. We sometimes have like 10 years where it runs and it's like dry, beautiful conditions in a row.
I sort of recall maybe 2012, 2013, there's like 1 or 2 years where it was just cooking, and it was the opposite. You would have welcomed a little bit of rain just to cool things down and keep the
Yeah,
dust
dust.
down. What do you see as new or exciting, if you could give us any glimpses for next year?
Well, just continue to make those trail improvements. And, with this event, we have so many different fun things going on, from Chico's Mud Bog to all kinds of like the Freezy Chug Fest contest, DJs in the evening, to different food that we have at the beer garden. So it's just around continuing to the expo area, continuing to try to find improvements and make that whole event experience even better for people year after year. So we've done it for 27 years. We kind of have the magic sauce, but that doesn't mean that we can't add a couple elements here and there and keep improving it.
If there was anyone that was following along and they thought, geez, this sounds like fun, but I don't know how to get started, or I'm nervous to get started, what advice would you give them?
Go to our Chico Racing page and you can go right there. Or maybe start out with an 8-hour event in the spring. You'll get a good idea of it. Or just join a team with already experience. We have a router find for them. Find a team, or go to your local bike shop and say, hey, listen, I'm looking for somebody that's done this in the past. And they can give you the heads up and guide you through it. There's also like an FAQ page on our website for how to get involved. Like, what does the event mean? How does it run? We're pretty easygoing overall. So we try to make it every touch point for the rider fairly seamless. So you don't have to go through buying a mountain bike race license. You just have to fill out the waiver, get your sticker for your number plate to prove that you're riding. Your team riders can go out whenever, as long as there's just one rider out on the course at any time and they have the baton, then they can go out on the course at any time. So we've tried to accommodate people and make it as friendly and easy to participate.
Yeah, it's dawned on me here as we've been chatting, we've been talking about the venue and some of the ups and downs. Maybe just we should have started off with, tell me a little bit about how the event flows. I've got a team, or I'm a solo rider that I want to enter this 24-hour event. Just in our last few minutes here, what does that look like?
So you register. The earlier you register, the more premium opportunity of a campsite, so closer to the start finish area that you'll potentially get. Although some people like to be further away from the start finish, so there's also that. Get registered, get your team together, get your team paid in full, and then show up. Most teams show up on Friday, or part of the teams show up on Friday and camp overnight. They get their race package pickup on Friday. Rest of the team comes in on Saturday. Event starts noon on Saturday, so one person from each team starts. So there's 400 riders starting all at once. We have a start loop and a special first run of the event. So it goes off at noon. And then we have the timing tent, which becomes kind of the epicenter of the event, if you will. And people come through that timing tent. They pass their baton on to the next rider. Next rider grabs their bike off of a bike rack, heads out on the 17-kilometer course, finishes their lap. If they want to do another lap, they're welcome to. But if their teammate's there and they want to pass off the baton to a teammate, they can do that. You can also decide whether you want to be a solo rider, a two-person team, four-person team, five-person team, or a 6 to 10 person team. So there's a lot of options depending on how much riding you want to do. You can ride one lap, or you can ride 20. Some solos have done 22 laps of 17 kilometers over 24 hours. 23, I think someone did once. We also have a complimentary kids event, Shimano Youth event, on this Saturday at 4 p.m. And so we usually have around 300 kids do that event. Then we have the DJ in the evening. We've got a food and beer garden and an expo area. So a bike shop, Cycle Life, comes on site. And we have our sponsors like Shimano doing tech support, Cannondale with demo bikes, and a number of other sponsors that come on and be part of the demo area. On Sunday morning, we open up Chico's Mud Bog. We open it up for an hour period, and the first 80 people to attempt it get a Chico Mud Bog shirt. And we have a lot of people doing endos in the mud pit and trying to get through it. And it becomes a big spectator event on the Sunday morning, so it gets people sort of pumped. And that's very, very popular. We also have a Freezy Chug Fest contest at 11 a.m. And then at 1 p.m. on Sunday, wrap up with the awards ceremony where everybody comes along and we have draw prizes. We give awards to the top 3 teams. The first team usually gets a winner's jersey. Louis Garneau did them last year. And we work on that. So, and then people clean up their campsites and they head home. Some people even come in on Thursday, and some people stay over on Sunday night. So they book from Albion, but we book your campsite for Friday and Saturday. We rent the entire park.
Definitely, the group definitely takes over.
Yep.
Thanks for that, Adam. I have 2 final questions for you, and they're more personal. My first question is, do you have a favorite bike, thinking back all the years you've been cycling, that this bike stands out, you'd love to ride it again? That's the first
Oh,
question.
my new Cannondale, Scalpel, 120, 120 with a dropper post. My favorite bike, but it's usually always the newest one. That's the best.
Always the newest one?
This one's the best overall. Best overall feel. I feel like I'm flowing with the bike really well. And it's actually the first time I've been using a dropper post because I'm an old school guy. So I've really discovered dropper post and using that more effectively. I guess I'm a late adopter.
Nice. I recently was introduced to dropper post as well. Also an old school guy. It's kind of
Yeah.
life changing when you're not 20 anymore.
Yeah.
But my last question, I guess, favorite trail that you've ever ridden?
Most memorable trail would have been Slick Rock, Moab. Favorite trail? I think that's pretty hard, but I would say some of my local trails like Dagmar, Durham Forest, Walker. That's my backyard. So those are some of my favorite trails. I also love riding at Albion. I love Sault Ste. Marie now. They've done an amazing job, more technical, very challenging. So if you get an opportunity, head up to Sault Ste. Marie. But we're blessed with a lot of really good riding in Ontario. I've also ridden I used to race in British Columbia and Colorado and across Canada. So, and all throughout the US. So, everything has its pros, cons, I would say. But I like, especially as I'm getting older, I like the flowy, fun, fast trails.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Excellent. Well, Adam, it's been great to chat with you today. Looking forward to when the registration for your event opens up. I think that's in November at some point.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you so much for running this event for so long. It's a great event. I love seeing these events that bring the cycling community together. I love the accessibility aspect of the event. I love everything about your event. I'm looking forward to the 2025 edition of it. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Mark. Really appreciate it. Take care.